Hi, everyone. It's Mary Ann from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. I want to go over an article that came out in Politico this week. It's been upsetting to many of you. There's been a lot of comments on our Facebook page and emails, people sharing it, and they're very frustrated. To many of you, you're believing what's in the article, but the article is just a rehash of information. And I want to show this to you. And I also want to show you where this tracks back to. And I also want to tell you who's behind it. So, and we can pinpoint all of this and show it to you because one of the things that our organization has been really good at is debunking things that come out that are, BS. We have a debunking BS page, a debunking bullshit page. And we also see patterns very, 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 very quickly, very easily. This is just something that we're just very good at. So we knew that this was a rehash of a story, and the reporter that was doing the story had actually called for information, and I wasn't convinced that there's anything there, and I'm still not convinced that there's anything there. And so the belief is that that Greg Floyd, from president of Local 237, was doing something wrong for being on the board of Emblem Health. Emblem Health, GHI, has been part of the city's business for like 90 years. They started sometime in like 1941 with the city offering healthcare. They were one of three plans: GHI, HIP, and I believe Metropolitan. They've been with the city forever. They are a nonprofit organization. They are a union organization, OPEIU 153. That will be another video because there's another really weird thing connected to that. Is supposedly the president, Jennifer Timo, is also part of the United Federation of Teachers, which another story. But the moral of this story is when things happen, stop for a moment. Ask yourself, why is this happening? Why is this a story? Why is this important? And why is this important now? And I want to show you why. This is not the first time that this happened. This is not the first time that this story came out. So I'm going to share my screen with you. This is the Politico story that came out. Insurer vying for city contracts donates $550,000 on union leader's behalf. Now, on face value, you look at that headline and you're like, holy cow. So, but that is not in 1 year. That was spread over time. So this year talks about in 2021, the city went to privatize our Medicare, which we all know because we've been fighting this since 2021, August of 21. And they talk about how Greg is on the nonprofit board of Emblem Health, which is no secret. Everyone knows he was on it. Everyone knows that even before Greg, there were other MLC people who were on the board. Why? Because 1.2 million people are on Emblem Health. So it's super important that we understand that this is not anything new. That actually the previous 230 president, Charles Haynes, had been on the board of Emblem Health and had taken a salary from them. And Conflict of Interest Board from New York City said, no, it's not proper. You have to give that back. And he did. Harry Nispoli had been on the board for a very long time, and they actually replaced Harry because Harry wasn't showing up. So here the article alleges that that Emblem made donations on behalf of Greg Floyd instead of giving him a salary. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. So this is the article that just came out this week. It's really based on innuendo, and for us, it was very troubling. We did not like having to see this all over again because to us, this was old news. Why was it old news? Because Jacobin had it in June 29th of 2021. I'm going to get to that date in a moment. Remember that date, June 29th, 2021. So unions shouldn't be helping the health industry. There's another photo of Greg Floyd dressed all dapper. In New York City Municipal Labor Committee, it is not only helping to block statewide single-payer healthcare, it's undermining retiree healthcare. It's short-sighted and dangerous politics. And you're absolutely right. The New York State single payer plan is a plan that For active workers, under 65, retirees that live in New York, anyone that lives in New York State would probably be a good plan to be in. There's some issues on the retiree side, is because if you're a retired person and you live outside of New York State, right now that plan doesn't protect you. But they've been making this better over the years, and that's a whole nother video, so I don't want to get into the details of that. But yes, it is a fact. The MLC, basically headed by municipal labor committees, executive board, Michael Mulgrew from the United Federation of Teachers, Henry Garrido are the two largest unions in the MLC, and they both put in opposition memos to the New York State single payer plan. And of course, you know that those were the two main players from the 14 and 18 MLC agreements that forced people into, retirees into Medicare Advantage plans. Now, this is the first time that this article came out, was June 29. 2021, in a paper called Jacobin, an online paper. I had never heard about this until this came out at this time. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, did you see this? So this was interesting. Cost savings or cost shifting. You're right on the fact of this, is that they're talking about where are you shifting this money, the alleged savings of $600 million, switching retirees from Medicare to Medicare Advantage. Under the current system, the city spends $600 million on retiree health care. And so they were looking for that savings because, of course, that was part of their MLC agreements. And so here they also note something very interesting. They talk about savings and different ways that the city could have saved money by changing the plan to a self-insured program. And it says, but since negotiations between the MLC and the Office of Labor Relations were held behind closed doors, retirees don't know whether this option was ever even considered. Retirees pointed to MLC personnel with ties to health insurance companies that could end up providing the new Medicare Advantage plans as potential conflicts of interest. Greg Floyd, president of the Teamsters 237, secretary of the MLC, is on the board of Emblem Health. Now, I know this wasn't us as retirees pointing it out to them, because we were just really starting to look at this by April, May, June, and I've never spoken with this publication. So this was another group of retirees that did this. To me, this looks like the Cooney people, because they mention Mr. Rodberg. So there must be a connection there, because I am not familiar with this publication. So let's go to the next, June 29th. Let's do that first. June 29th. June 29th. Now, this document here is a court document filed by Aetna against the city of New York when they had sour grapes over not winning the RFP for the Medicare Advantage plan, and it was given to Emblem, the Alliance of Emblem Anthem, right? So what do you notice here about June 29th? On June 29, at a meeting of the evaluation committee, the members reviewed and discussed all the submission materials and best and final offers submitted by the finalists. In response to the negotiated acquisition, all the consultant reports, including Milliman, best and final offers, BAFO, analysis, and the Martin Scheinman report, based on the evaluation committee's members' review of the negotiated acquisition material and the consultant report, the members each individually scored submissions, see Exhibit 17. The scores were tallied from each member and into a rating sheet, and the alliance received the highest score. So I don't know what time of day this was done. I don't know what time that report came out, but this is interesting to see the timing of this, okay? Now, we've got one more. So this next article comes out in the New York Post, written by Carl Campanile. Aetna sues New York City labor officials over tainted Medicare contract. And actually, Aetna filed it in the NYSEF court docket on September 13th. Here it is September. It was published September 19th, just a couple days later, updated on the 20th. So in this case, also, they write about how they believe it was unfair that they did not get chosen as the vendor for the RFP. And lo and behold, look who else is there, Greg Floyd. So when I said this past week that I felt that this was a smear campaign, I think I was correct. I think Aetna is a player in this, and maybe they're lobbyists, or maybe they're PR people, or I don't know who. Maybe in conjunction with Bob Lynn, OLR, because we all know how they've been trying to kill Emblem Health 12-126 and make retirees and employees pay for healthcare forever. The point is, when you start to see something like this and all of a sudden a large crowd starts to react, that mob mentality, stop and think one moment. And this is why many of you have been calling me, and I'm like frustrated with having to repeat myself over and over and over again. They wanted you to do something. They wanted you to get angry at Emblem. They wanted you to get angry at the unions. They wanted you to get angry at Greg Floyd. I called Greg Floyd this week, and I was totally honest. And I said, don't like what I know of him, trying to kill all retirees by forcing us into Medicare Advantage plans, never returning any of my phone calls when this whole thing started. But this is wrong. When you see a smear campaign, you have to ask, why is this happening? I don't think the reporter was smearing anybody. I believe the reporter was following a lead, as a reporter should, and that they were given a tip of something that sounded interesting. Maybe they didn't do all the research to realize that this had been exposed before. And clearly, Aetna doesn't know everybody's personal business. And for as public of a guy as Greg is, he's not that public, and there's not really bad things out there to accuse him of. So what did they do is just rehash old stuff. You have to look at it. In June, there was an RFP process for a Medicare Advantage plan, and Aetna was pretty pissed off at Emblem. Today, you have an RFP process for active workers and under 65 retirees. You have two competitors, Aetna and Emblem Health. This is, again, someone is targeting the same two people, labor and Emblem. And that's all I got to say about that. So please stop sharing the article. It's not worth the paper it was written on. However, you don't smear someone publicly for something that they didn't do wrong. And the only one that stands to benefit in this whole entire thing is Aetna. Aetna. Aetna Life Insurance Company, Aetna Health Insurance Company, Aetna CVS Health. The one company that is for profit, who is trying to force all of us into their healthcare plans so they can enrich themselves and their shareholders. Not the union, not the retirees, not Emblem, who's a nonprofit and union. So the same company that wants all of our business is smearing us. Just think about that for a moment. And now you understand why every week I put a post up on Twitter claiming that Aetna and Aetna CVS suck, because they are greedy insurance companies. And that's all I got to say about that. Have a good night.